In this video, we're going to continue on with building out our video editor app. And where we left off was here. I have this video that I've uploaded, and right now we just have mock data for the transcription and the audio waveform. But you can play the video, and that's all it does right now. So we're gonna continue on from here, and we're gonna take it from just being able to play this video to this. You can see this audio waveform. This is the audio of the video here, and you can see the peaks and the silences. That eventually we're gonna have a button where we can click on detect silences. It's going to highlight them here in this audio waveform, and then we can choose to trim them so that we can reduce the gaps in speech. But for now, this is where we'll end, where we have this audio waveform at the bottom of the video. And as you can see, our Descript app is coming together. Let's get started. This is the GitHub repo where you can find all the latest changes to this project. The link is in the description. And then you also find instructions in the description of this video so that you can rewind your project to be in sync with this video. I have the README pulled up here. So the first thing you want to do is clone this repo. And then once you have cloned it, you can run npm install to install all the dependencies, and then npm start to start up the project. So I just ran npm start, and that's how I got this going. If I were to refresh, the first page is the upload file. So I'm going to upload a file. Once I've selected the file, then it will navigate me to this page. So I want to be able to test my changes without having to upload a file every time, because if I were to refresh this, then it just takes me to this upload video page. So the first thing I want to do is upload a default file if there's not one already in the path. So I'm going to pull up cursor, and then I'm going to prompt the agent. I'm going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet. If you want to see where we are at the start of this video, you can I'll show you really quickly. The last commit that we made was this one here, where we removed some obsolete files. And that's where we're starting this video from. So I'm going to prompt cursor, and without looking at the files and what I have here, I'm just going to describe to it in natural language what's going on. And then I want to include some of these files as the context so that it has context on what my project looks like right now. So the app is the main file that contains the start of my application, and then the index file contains the beginning. It's the container for that app. So I'm also going to include it. Oops, I just need to include both of these. So I've included both the index and the app as files for its context, but there's really nothing there about my app and the routing, how it goes from the upload page to the editing page. So I'm looking within my app, and I can see that there's just one component. It's called VideoUploader. So I'm going to pull that up, and it looks like in this video uploader is where I have the logic for what's going to be displayed on my page. So I can see that I have this if condition. So if I'm editing, then it's going to display the file input. This is where I would upload the file, and that's the end of the if condition. So if this isn't being returned because I'm not editing, then it will return this HTML here, which is what contains my mock transcription, the video element, and then in the footer it has the playback controls, and then underneath that is where it has the audio waveform. So you can see all of this handling is done by this video uploader, which is not what I want. So I'm going to tell it, I'm going to provide that file as the context, and I'm going to tell the agent, remember, you want to just have a natural conversation with it. So I'm going to tell it, when I pull up my application, it shows an upload page. And then if I upload a file, it takes me to another page where I can view that uploaded file, which is a video, along with some other components on that page. But the URL doesn't change. I would like to have distinct URLs for these pages. So the upload page will be the root, and the page that shows my video and the mock description will be my edit page. Let me just make this correction. Mock transcription, and that looks good. So I'm asking it to make those changes so that when I navigate to my app, right, for now the root path is going to have this upload file, right? And then I want it to have a path for edit. Right now there's no path for that, so it doesn't take me anywhere. But I ultimately want the edit page to take me to this. This is the edit page that I want it to show during edit. So that's what the prompt is supposed to do. And first I want to make sure that I have no changes in this file since the last commit. That's good because we want to be able to track the changes that the agent is making with each prompt. So it recognizes that it needs to use the React router library in order to create distinct URLs for the upload and the edit pages. So first it's going to check if I already have this dependency installed. So I'm just going to hit Command Enter so that I can run the command. It does find it. It's seeing that it is installed. So now it's going to implement that library to separate the components and the implementing so that it can implement the routing. So now it's creating a component called upload page, and it's still working, but it looks like this is what we see in the main path. I'm just refreshing it. So this is this component. It handles the drag. So if you drag a file on there, if you drop a file, if the file changes, and then this is where it handles the actual file. And then here's what it's rendering so that it can display that component. So it created that component. Now let's see, it's creating the edit page component. And this should contain, let me see if I can rewind. Nope, I have to upload the file. So this edit page is this one here. It's separated out into a separate component. You can see that it has the mock transcription here. And then it has this effect hook for navigating. So this effect hook is using the local storage to get the video data, if there is any in local storage. We'll modify that, but let's keep reading through here. It's creating this toggle play and pause handler so that it can play the video if I click on a button. And then finally, it'll return, if the video file is still loading, then it's just going to return this loading text. But if it's already been loaded, it's going to create this page here. Looks like there's a button so that I can navigate back to the root if I want to go back home, back to upload. And then it's creating the transcription component to display the mock transcription, and then the video preview. And finally, it's rendering the playback controls and the audio waveform, just like we had in our video uploader component here, where we had all of the logic here for the upload UI and also the edit page. Now Cursor separated everything out. So now that it's created this edit component, now let's make sure the pages directory exists. So now it's creating a separate directory, because right now I have pages that it created when it created these files. So it's just going to confirm that that directory exists. And now it's going to update the app file to implement this routing. You can see the changes that it's making here. For me, it's a little harder to see the changes directly in this UI. I like to use this chat right here just to read the descriptions of what it's making, but usually if I have to look into the changes that it's making, then I'll just open up the file itself. So let me navigate to app, and you can see it hasn't updated this file with those changes. So let me see why it didn't do that. It should have already applied those changes to the app file. Do I have more than one? No, this is the one. I don't know, maybe it was just lagging to load the changes it's recommending. So all of these changes, they haven't been made, or at least I haven't approved them, right? So I have to approve them. I can either click on this green button or just hit Command Y to approve this green line. This is just saying that it's adding that line. And yes, all we're doing is importing the router into the root, and then it's importing the newly created components. It's the video uploader that's been separated out into two different components, two different pages actually. And then it's returning the component depending on what path we're on. So I'm going to accept that. That looks good. Now I'll go back into Cursor to see what else it needs to do. Let's run the application to make sure everything works. Hit npm start. Although I think I already had an instance running. It's already running on another port. it recognized that the application is running, so now it's just summarizing the changes that it made. So it created, using React Router, it created routes for the upload and the edit pages. And here's how it's just describing what it did for the upload page. So after a user uploads a video, they get redirected to the edit page. And then in the edit page, it has the video transcription and editing tools, and it also has a back to upload. We can go to the actual app, and let me navigate to edit to confirm that that's the case. What happened? It's not, it didn't, maybe because I have still this. Would you like to run the app on another port instead? No. I do have this one running, so it should. Let me refresh. Oh, you know what? I haven't looked at the full details. So I'm thinking maybe there's some logic in the code that doesn't let me navigate, that basically redirects me to the root path if there's no file that's uploaded. So here is the edit page, and I do see this back to upload button, so I do think that's new. So it looks like the changes that it's implemented are working. Now I can delete the older component here. Let me see. This has the video uploader. It's still using the video uploader CSS. So I won't delete that one, but I'll delete the video uploader because that's now a duplicate. It's no longer needed. And just to confirm that it's still working, let me upload a file. Great. It did upload a file, and now I'm able to navigate the application. So it provides more summary of what it did, but we already know what it did, so I'm just going to ask it to create a commit message. Please write a commit message to summarize all of your changes. All right, send that. Here's the commit it wrote. I'm going to copy that commit message, and then I've already confirmed the changes that I made. Actually, I didn't confirm these, but I can just hit, let's see, let me open up the app. So these are the changes that it's making. Those look good. I already approved them. We're deleting the video uploader file because we've separated it out into the edit page. That looks good. And the upload page, and that looks good. We're only in the beginning stages of this project, so I'm not going to look too closely into the implementation. We'll fix any errors as we go along if we find any. So I'm just going to stage everything, and then I'm going to paste that commit message that the LLM wrote for me. So I will commit, and those changes have been made. So now I'm happy with the changes that I started with in this prompt. So I'm going to start a new thread. But before I start talking to it, I want to see how it handled me trying to navigate to the edit page. So I'm on the edit page now. I'm just going to click refresh, and there is nothing. There's no video, which makes sense. If I try to hit play, it has no supported sources. That makes sense because there was no video. So I am able to open up this page even if I don't have a video. But in order to be able to test this quickly, I want to upload a default video. And this is just for testing. So if I go into this upload page, I can see that when I provide a file, it's running this handle file handler, and then it's just taking that file path and then creating a URL from it, and then saving this object into the local storage. And that's what my edit page, I think it uses, local storage. Here it is. So that's what it's using in order to pull the video, save video data. And here's the effect hook inside of the edit page. So it's looking in the local storage for that video data, and then using that video data, it can set the video file. So that's setting the state of the edit page according to what it pulls from local storage. But if it doesn't find anything in local storage, then it's just gonna redirect me to the root page, which is not what I want. So now let's prompt cursor to handle it the way that we want. I need to provide it with the upload page and the edit page because it's gonna need both contexts in order to make the changes that I need. My application has an upload button where users can upload a file from their computer, and this file gets saved to local storage. My application then directs the application to the edit page, where the edit page component will display the video after retrieving it from local storage. I'm just giving it a summary of what the application is doing. It can read for itself, but it just helps to tell it what you want it to focus on. What I would like instead is for the upload page to create a video ID associated with the uploaded video. And when the user goes to the edit page, no, let me correct that statement, and save that video ID to the query parameters that it will pass into the edit page when it redirects. The edit page will look for a video ID in the query parameters of the URL, and if it doesn't find one, then it will load a default file at the following path. So I'm just going to give it a path to a file that I'm using for testing. Here's the file path, and let's see what changes it suggests. Okay, so it's recognizing that it needs to modify both the upload page and the edit page. So it starts out with the the upload page. Now it's going to modify the edit page to look for the video ID in the URL query parameters and load a default file if it doesn't find one. So it's made changes to that, and then it says the changes have been implemented successfully. Here's a summary of what was done. So I'll just quickly look at the summary before I look into the files. And it says in the upload page, it creates a unique ID for that file when it's uploaded. It updated the local storage so that it's storing videos by their IDs. And then it added the video ID as a query parameter so that when it navigates to the edit page, and then within the edit page, it's accessing the URL query parameters, and then it's looking for the video ID in the query parameter. And it added a load default video function so that it loads the default video when it doesn't have a valid ID in the query. And then here it's just removing some logic from clearing the local storage. And so in summary, it's going to create a unique ID for each uploaded video. It saves the video into local storage with their IDs. It passes this ID into the URL query parameters when navigating to the edit page. And then it's going to load the specified video if the ID exists. Otherwise, it'll load the default video. So let's go into the app and see if that's true. In the edit page, I'm going to refresh, and it didn't bring up my video, even though I provided it with the path to the video file on my local computer. I don't know if it used it, so let me try to search it. I'm searching and I can see that it's inside of my edit page. Here it is, load default video. So that didn't work when I clicked on edit. Let me look at the console to see if there are any errors there. Let me refresh. There's no errors there. What about, okay, so we have to take a look at the logic. We don't want to just commit these changes and save them without knowing what's going on. So let me first go into the upload page because this is the start of our flow, right? So when you upload a file, it's creating this video ID, and that looks good. It's using the date. I'm okay with that. And then it's also using some random characters. And then it's adding the ID to the video data that's going to save to local storage. And then it's checking to see if there's any existing video in the local storage. And then it's setting the videos to the video data of the uploaded video. And then it's redirecting to the edit page, passing in the video ID as the query parameter. So that looks good. I'm going to accept that. So no other changes in the upload page. Let's go into the edit page. Here it's importing the use location, and then it's creating a variable called location using that. So it's going to load the video data when the component mounts. Let's see, it should only happen when the component is mounting. Is that true? So as long as the location doesn't change, then this effect won't run again. But I can see that it's looking inside of the URL in the query parameters, extracting the video ID. If there is a video ID, then it's going to use that in order to set the video file according to that ID. But if there is a video ID and there's no data for it, then it's going to choose to load the default file. And then if it doesn't have a video ID like I have here, where I didn't provide it in the URL, then it should just load the default file. And here's the default file, ID, name, URL. And then it's setting the video file to this default file. So that looks good. This is not a URL, that's why. Well, let's just accept it for now, but we have to keep in mind that it's using the path of my file as a URL. Here it's just removing this logic. That's okay with me. So I found the issue. I can just prompt it right here by hitting Command K, and I can just prompt it directly here so that it makes the change here. And let's see if by just giving it that one single line as context, it can fix the error. Otherwise, I'll have to pull up the chat on the right-hand side so that it can work with the entire file. Let me actually select this whole function to load the default file. I'm going to prompt it with that function as the context. This function is using a local file path on my computer as the URL. And before we continue, the reason that's a problem is because when it's using this URL or this string as the URL, then it's setting it to the video file state, and then that video file state is used down here in the video element. Here's the video file state, and then it's taking that URL to provide as the source for the video, but it doesn't know that that's a file path instead of a URL. So now I can tell Cursor, please fix this so that the default video URL is an actual URL instead of a local file path. I'm gonna hit submit, and then it'll execute those changes only within this highlighted context. And it just made up a public video URL, so that's not gonna work. So let me copy this prompt, and then I'm gonna prompt Cursor over here. The edit page has a set video state. Let me correct that. Let me just paste what I was using before. And instead of saying this function, I can say, let me delete that and let me correct that. The edit page has a function called load default video that is using a local file path on my computer as the URL. Please fix this so the default video URL is an actual URL instead of a local file path. So let's run that. I should have actually staged. Let me quickly stage these before it makes any further changes. No, it's misunderstanding what I want. I don't want that because I want it to use my file, right? When I'm running this project locally, it should use my file. So let me correct it and state the load default video function in my edit page is incorrect. The value for the URL attribute in the default video is a file path on my local computer. I would like for the edit page to load this video file from my local computer and use that file path to create a URL that it can save in the default video data. Let me just put these together so it knows what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this specific variable. So I'm going to submit that prompt. So it looks like it did understand because this is exactly what I want it to use. You can create a proper URL from your local file path using this method right here. It's the url.createObjectURL. It's similar how it's done when you're uploading a file. Let me update the load default file function. So it's just going to check that this file exists, and yes, it does. It looks like the file exists, so now I can update the edit page component. It's making those changes, and it's summarizing the changes that it's made for me. Okay, I'm just gonna search what this video error means, and it's happening in the video element. I'm gonna ask an LLM. Let's just go with ChatGPT. I'm getting this error from my React application. What does it mean? You know what, let me just ask directly in Cursor. Let me paste that in. Okay, I got a response from Cursor. It says that the video element can't access the file, and it's most likely because the browser can't access the file from my local computer because of strict security restrictions. So it's going to make some changes. It's removing that fetch that we had before, and it's just trying to upload a fake. It's just trying to set its own default path for a default video. And it's saying that the error I'm seeing is because browsers block access to local file paths for security reasons. When my code tries to load a video from a local file path, the browser prevents this access, causing the video element to trigger an error. And it updated the load default video function so that it uses a public URL for the default video instead of trying to access my local file. And so there's three solutions that I can use. One is to use a public URL like it did here, where it just took the link to a public video. The other is to create a public folder and include the video in that public folder. So that public folder needs to be inside of my application. So I'm going to do that, use a file input. And the other option would be to use a file input. And that's what we have with the upload page. Users are able to look at their own files in their systems, and that gives the browser the permission it needs to be able to access that specific file. But since here I'm trying to just refresh the page and then load the file, I need to include that file in my public folder. So let me make that. Before I do that change, let me just go over the console logs that it's having here for me. And I'm going to actually, I think I'm going to reject most of them. Yeah, because I can always just add them on later. The only one that I will keep is the one that aired out right here. Or whatever, I'll just keep these as well. So let me see if I can just accept this one. No, it accepts the whole thing, whatever, that's okay. So this is the only console log I wanted to keep, and everything else I'm just going to reject. And then I'm going to create, let's see, how did it say to do it? It just needs to be its own public folder, so not inside. Oh, I already have a public folder. So I just need to upload that file there. So I'm gonna move it from my downloads into that. So now that I've moved that file over, I should be able to just provide the path to it here. So I'm gonna update it. And I wonder if I need to reference public. Let's try that, public 2x.mp4. And then let's go to the browser. Let's see, still getting that error message, video error on edit page. Okay, so let's try just that. Oh, there we go. Let's clear this. We do still get an error, but the video is there. If I click play, then it is playing. And if I refresh the page, okay, so now as I make changes to this, I don't have to start at the root directory and then upload the file, which takes some time. You have to do this after every change. It's going to take too long. But here's the video ID. I wonder if I were to, well, it's the same video. So let me actually try something else. I want to see if this video ID implementation works. I don't think it does, just based on what I remember seeing in the code. I uploaded a file. Here's a file that I just used. It's of Deadpool. And let me try refreshing. If I refresh with that video ID, there's nothing here, and it's going to error out, of course. This file is not found. I know I have to fix that. That's an issue with how the file isn't actually saved in my server, because I don't have a backend right now where I save this file. So of course that's not going to work. But if I just do edit, this brings up the default one, which is all we want for now. So let me go back to cursor and let me look at the changes. All that has changed is this. I don't want to include this here. I do want to include, so I'll stage that. And then this I don't really need, so I'm going to discard those changes. And then yes, I want to include that file. And then I'm going to ask the agent to please summarize the changes that you've made into a git commit message. I'm going to submit that. In your summary, please include the changes that you made to the upload page as well. And I'm going to add the upload page. Now it's going to modify its git commit message, implement video upload and editing functionality. So here are the changes. It generated a unique ID. Was that since the last commit? Let me see. Yes, it is. So this is staged. Stored video data on local storage. That's fine. We'll overwrite it later. Navigated to the edit page with the video ID as a query parameter, correct. And then inside of the edit page, we have implemented a function to a default video when no video ID is found. Default video is fetched from local path and converted to a URL. Included error handling to fall back to public video URL. That one's not. We didn't actually leave that one there. So let me paste this and let me modify this because include error handling to fall back to public video if the local file cannot be found. So no, I remove that. Remove unnecessary log statements for cleaner code. Let's remove that. And then simplify the video playback controls and error handling. All right, this looks like a good git commit message. So these files have been staged. I'm going to commit this. And now that we have finalized those changes, we can start a new thread, because in every thread is like one commit message. That's just how I like to work, so that way at the end it can summarize those changes easily. So now we're ready to start making some upgrades to this page, and we have a video that's loaded for us automatically. So the next thing that I want to do is show the audio waveform for this video, because ultimately once we have that audio waveform, we'll be able to see the gaps in between the speech in this video, and any of those gaps, so those silences, should be auto-detected and removed, because that's one of the things that we're trying to do while we're building this Descript-like app, is detect those silences and then remove them. So let's go into cursor, let's start a new thread, and it's not going to be within the edit page, it's going to be in the parent of the edit page. So that would be, I think, the app, and no, it's the, sorry, I misspoke. It actually is the edit page. So the edit page is going to contain a component for this audio waveform. Give it the context of the edit page so it knows what the code looks like. And then let's write the prompt. The edit page contains a mock component, which is the audio waveform with mock data. I'd like to implement an audio waveform with the actual audio of the uploaded video. Can you please replace the mock audio waveform with the one for the video? Let's see how that does. Submitted. So it understood correctly. It's going to replace the mock audio waveform with an actual waveform generated from the video's audio. Now it's going to check if it needs to install web audio API tools. It's checking inside the package.json, and now it's implementing those changes in the edit page. So it looks like it made a ton of changes. Over here on the right hand side, you can see these colors. These correspond to any changes that it's made. It's all green, so that means it's only added stuff. And then when there's orange, like you see down here at the bottom, I'm going to scroll to it so it's in view. When it's in orange, or whatever this color is, it's because it made some deletions in red and some additions in green. So replacement. All right, before I look into the actual implementation, I'm gonna continue with the thread. So let's run the application to see if our changes work. It's going to make sure that I'm in the right directory, and then it's gonna npm start, although I already have one running. So before I do that, let me terminate the one that was running before by just canceling it. I have nothing else running, so it should be okay to run now. Okay, it's running, and here's the audio waveform. Let's see if I click play. Oh wow, it does have a playhead. Okay, but it looks like it's very zoomed in. At least it doesn't look very nice. No, it seems to be... Can I drag this? Let's see, what if I drag... Oh, it does work. If I drag this one responds as well. If I drag it all the way to the end, okay, so it is the full waveform, but it just doesn't look so good. Let's see what it has to say. I've replaced the mock audio waveform with a real waveform generated from the video's audio. Here's what I implemented. All right, so here's what it did. Under audio extraction and processing, it says that it uses the web audio API to extract the audio from the video, and then it implemented processing so that it can sample and normalize the audio and create the visual representation of the audio. Added some error handling in case the audio fails. Then it created a canvas element to render the waveform, which is this. This is the canvas element. It implements real-time drawing of the waveform and the red line indicating the current playback position. Although when I click on it, it's not very good. If I click over here, it's It's like it's way too far to the right of where I'm clicking. The beginning. So it's more accurate when it's closer to the beginning. Anyways, it's not that great. And then it has some interactive features, as we already know. You can click on the waveform and it'll seek the position of the video. And it synced up the waveform to the video's playback state. As we can see, if I click around here, it updates this one, the playback head here. And then the image in the video also changes. So it's all synced up, which is good. We didn't even ask for that, but it's awesome that it recognized that it needed to do that. And then lastly, yeah, it synchronized the slider with the playback position of the audio waveform. So it's fully functional and it displays the data from my video. So you would just upload a video, go to the edit page, play the video, and you can observe the playback indicator moving. And then you can click on different parts of the waveform to seek to specific positions. So it did do the job correctly. It just doesn't look good, right? So we were able to make some changes to the audio waveform to make it look nicer. It's still a little bit blurry. We can keep playing around with it, but I'm pretty sure that there's a library that I can use that already builds this for us, so we don't have to build the audio waveform from scratch. So let me search one actually in Perplexity. I'm going to search, what are the best audio waveform libraries for React.js? And do the search. Let's see what it comes back with. Wavesurfer.js. Yeah, I've heard of that one. React Audio Visualize, Web Audio API. That's the custom implementation, but I didn't like it. We don't need to reinvent the audio waveform. We can just use the library. Waveform, React Voice Visualizer. Okay, so it made a table of all of the options that I have. The one that we're currently using is this Web Audio API. It gives you full control over the Canvas API, and you can implement things. You can make custom implementations. And it says that for React projects, wavesurfer.js is a popular choice because it's flexible and easy to integrate. But the alternatives like React Audio Spectrum or the custom Web Audio API are better suited depending on your requirements. So I'm going to go with wavesurfer.js. I'm going to go into here and I'm actually going to just, let's see, these are all the changes that it's suggesting. I'm going to discard them. And since I didn't implement what I have here, then I'm just going to modify this. This is the last message I wrote, so I can just modify it and rerun it. I don't know what it'll do for the memory in this thread. Hopefully it doesn't remember that it tried this other solution before, but we'll see. We'll see how smart cursor is. So I just need to modify this prompt. I'm just going to correct this sentence here, and then I'm going to state, please use the library wavesurfer.js. And let's see how it goes. There's no changes. Okay. There's no changes there, so let's run it. Okay, so it recognizes that it needs to install this library, so I'm just going to run the command, and it failed. It's going to try with a specific version because it failed the first time. It's going to check the package.json because it's failing. I don't know why it's retrying that when it failed the first time. It's going to check npm for any configuration issues. Now it's going to try to force the installation. Still erroring out. I've never seen that error before. So it looks like the issue could be from this specific library that I have in my package.json. So hopefully clearing the cache will work. Let's try running it. Let me open up the terminal. Okay, opened up the terminal and navigated into the right path. npm clean the cache. Now let's run these two commands. And then it looks like that was okay. It ran without issues. So let me try to install wavesurfer.js now. And it worked. Okay, so there must have been some issue with the cache. I can close this one now, and that worked well. Let's see what it has to say. Okay, so it did give up on trying to install npm, and it's just going to proceed to modify the edit page component to incorporate wavesurfer and handle the installation separately, which is good because that's what I did. I already made sure it's installed. And it's going to implement just assuming that wavesurfer will be available. Okay, so it makes the changes, and let's see what it has to say after it made the changes. It's going to add some CSS to the waveform to make it look better. It's going to add some additional CSS for the new waveform components. And all of that is going into the VideoUploader.js. I have to update that file and separate out the CSS for the edit page and the upload page because they're both in there. Okay, so let's look at the summary of the changes it made. It updated the edit page with an audio waveform visualization using wavesurfer.js, just like we asked. And then it has a more advanced mock waveform that changes color based on playback position. Interesting. It got creative. And then the time display based on the current position and the duration. Improved playback controls that sync with the waveform, just like the last implementation. Let me pull it up to see what it looks like. Oh, so this is what it did, huh? Oh, look at this time. That's cool. It's playing, but it's not updating as it's playing. So I think there probably isn't an event listener that updates this as the video is playing. And then also this one isn't updating either. I wonder if this is actually the audio waveform. He added a note to the bottom of our page, install with npm. Okay. And then lastly, it enhanced it with CSS. It improved the time display here, but it only updates if I seek, if I manually select. How long is this video? I thought it was, oh yeah, that makes sense. But why is the waveform updating as I click around? That's interesting. Is that what it said over here? A temporary, up here it says that it used the advanced mock waveform that changes color, not changes shape based on playback position. So I'm not sure. I'll have to look into the code to see why it's doing that. But let's continue. So it created better CSS, responsive design for mobile devices. I didn't even ask it to do that. It created documentation in the README so that it can help you troubleshoot the wavesurfer installation. Oh, so instructions to uncomment the wavesurfer code once properly installed. So I wonder, that's why it looks like this, because this doesn't look like a wavesurfer audio waveform. So let me tell it, I have successfully installed wavesurfer.js. Feel free to uncomment the wavesurfer implementation code. I can do it myself, but let's just have it do it. Run it. So all of these prompts that I'm submitting, I'm going to correct them so that you don't have these same issues when you're running them, and you'll get the final form with as descriptive as possible so that Cursor doesn't misunderstand your intent. Okay, so it's going to uncomment the wavesurfer implementation, and now it's going to do it. So here's the import. It removed the comment about the npm installation issues. Anyways, I don't need to review those because this is based on its last changes and I haven't even actually looked at the file. What happened? Here we go. So I need to close it. Let me open it again. Let me close this one. Edit page. Okay. It didn't even ask me to approve them or deny. It just approved them all. Okay, that's fine. Let me go back to my history where I was talking to it. Okay, so all I did was uncomment. And then here's all the wavesurfer implementation. So let's take a look at the file. Oh, wow, that is beautiful. But the user reported the request. I'm just trying to refresh. That's interesting. Okay, that's a bug I'll have to look into. Let's see, console. Wavesurfer is ready. So it shows it for a little bit. Oh, it's uncaught in a promise. 108, line 108 in the edit page right here. All right, eventually I'll tell it about that bug, but let's continue. We'll review the code. First, we'll review the summary and then we'll review the implementation. Maybe we'll find the bug while we're reviewing the code that it generated. So it uncommented the wavesurfer import, activated the wavesurfer initialization in the effect hook. So it enables wavesurfer seeking integrated with the video time updates. It connected the play and pause controls to both the video and the waveform. It removed the mock waveform from before. That was just a placeholder. It removed the note about installing wavesurfer. So now it's going to show the audio waveform of the video. It's going to synchronize it with video playback. It's going to allow seeking by clicking on different parts of the waveform. and it updates as the video plays. It's styled with purple color that matches the application design, and it has a cursor that shows the current playback position. Awesome. Let me just look through the code. Let's see how many files changed. Oh yeah, it changes the README. Let's look at a preview of the README so it's easier to read. So here's where you do npm install and then try cleaning. I don't need this because you likely won't have these issues. The reason I had these issues is probably because of the way I started the application. I was using certain libraries that eventually caused this conflict, but I don't think you'll have this issue because you won't have the same package lock file that I do. So let me remove that part. Wavesurfer installation. Here's the features. Okay. So I'm good with the README file, the current state of it. Here in the package.json, it just added wavesurfer as a dependency. And then here's the CSS for the waveform. So I'll include that. And then here's where most of the changes are in the edit page. So let's review what it's doing. It's importing wavesurfer. I don't need this comment at all. So that one's good. Current time, it's going to track the current time in a state. It's going to track the duration as a state. That's interesting. It's going to create a reference for that waveform element right here. This is the waveform. Oops. And then a reference for the wavesurfer object that we're importing here. Let's keep going. Here's where it's initializing wavesurfer when the video is loaded. Let's see. Let me go into the edit page over here. That's line 87. It's initializing. When is it running? What are the dependencies? When the video file is updated, okay? And it's only running if there's a URL and there's a waveform already present. If there's already a wavesurfer that's present, then it's going to destroy it. Here it's creating the waveform along with the color, the progress color, the height, and other visualization properties. And then it's going to load the video into the wavesurfer. And then it's going to create this, it's going to log when the wavesurfer is ready. And then as I seek the wavesurfer object, I can't show you because there's that bug, but as it listens for events of seeking, so as I click to seek, then it's going to update the time of the video. So this time this is working in the other direction, which makes sense because they both need to be able to control each other. If I had the ability to seek the video somewhere else, then it should seek, or it should synchronize with the wavesurfer. But here it's going in the other direction. And then before this component unmounts, this is what it needs to do. It needs to destroy the wavesurfer object. And then this effect hook is to sync the video time updates with waveform. What are the dependencies? None. So this is only going to run when it's mounted. It only runs once when it's mounted because there's no dependencies here. This one's running anytime the video file is being uploaded. So let's see what's going on. If there's no video, then it's just going to return. It's not going to do anything. But if there is, here's the callback function that's going to run anytime there's an update to the time. You can see the time update here and then the handler. All it's doing is setting the current time in the state according to what's the current time of the video. And then it's seeking the wavesurfer according to that video time. So this is the other direction that we were talking about, where as the video is playing, basically the wavesurfer object is listening for what time it is based on the video time. So again, this is only running once when the component is mounted. It's setting the duration according to the video. And as soon as that metadata is loaded, here's the event listener. And then of course you have to remove these event listeners before you unmount. That's what this callback function is for. Here's the toggle play and pause button. So here it's actually toggling both at the same time, the video reference and the wavesurfer. I would think that it might be better to have just one being toggled and then the other one responding to it. Whenever, for example, the video is toggled to pause, then this one's listening for the video so that it can also pause, but let's just leave it for now. Here's just a helper function to format the time, and it's just displaying the time here neatly. The max is the total duration. When it sets the duration, is it a percentage? Because this is saying 100, so I'm guessing, no, that wouldn't make sense. Why set duration to a percentage? Whatever, we'll get to it if we need to. And then, so this is the timeline slider. As it's updating for this timeline slider, if there's a change, which means like if I were to interact with it and move it, then it's going to check that that video element, that video HTML tag is there basically, and then it's going to set the time for that video according to whatever value I seeked the slider to, and then it's going to update the state of the time, and it's also at the same time going to update the wavesurfer time. So I'm thinking all of these are being updated individually. You can see here that we have the video time that's being updated, and then the state time that's being updated, and then the wavesurfer. But really we only need to update probably the time, and whenever that time changes in the state, then it should also change in the video and the wavesurfer object. Yeah, I think that would be the better way to do it. And then this is the wavesurfer element. So everything looks good. I didn't see, just looking at the code, what could be causing the issue, but maybe if we ask cursor, it'll know. Let me refresh so I can get the latest console log. And it's on 107, it's saying. The issue is stemming from line 107 of the edit page here, when it's trying to load the audio from the video. So let me pass this in and hopefully cursor can figure out what's going on. The implementation looks great. I'm seeing the following error in the console logs. I'm gonna paste that in, gonna say it's an error, going to send. So this issue happens when wavesurfer instance attempts to load the audio, but the request gets aborted. Oh, had I staged the changes? I think I had, right? Yeah, these are all the changes that I had made in the last cursor call. Good, because I want to be able to see just the changes that have come about since the most recent cursor call. Okay, let's go back to where we were. So let's fix this issue by adding error handling to the wavesurfer implementation. Let's see what it's doing. Here's media controls are false. Media type is video. Media is referencing that video. And then instead of, it's not going to load anymore. Where is it going to load it then? Because it's getting rid of that load. But let's keep reading. So the changes look good. Let's also update the component to ensure the video element is properly initialized before we try to create the wavesurfer instance. So it's just adding a check here. This is in one of the effect hooks, and it looks like it's where it's initializing the wavesurfer. When the video is loaded, it's just making sure that that video is actually present, and it's adding it as a dependency. As the video changes, then it will run this effect hook. And then let's also make sure we have proper initialization with a slight delay to ensure the video metadata is loaded. I'm gonna have to read that in the file just because it's not so neat here in the cursor chat. And let's fix one issue with the dependencies of the initialize wavesurfer function. Okay, that one I'll have to review as well. Before I read the summary, let's make sure it's working. And it's working. Let's play. Wow, pretty smooth, and that waveform just looks beautiful. But it's not updating this slider now, so this got out of sync for some reason. If I do seek it, you can see that it does apply. What's going on over here? So it's not showing the full, if I'm 50%, it's like more than halfway through here. Can I slide this one? What happens if I click around? So it does update the video, but it's not updating the slider. So all of these are kind of out of sync. Some of them are a little bit in sync, but I'm not sure if like it's not showing the full waveform here and there's more to the right that should be showing, or if it's just out of sync, you know, when this is 50%, this one's like 90%. So, but it does look like it's just not showing. No, maybe not, I don't know. We'll work on that next time. But for now, it does play. The audio waveform is there. In the next video, we're gonna fix all of these synchronization issues so that when the video is playing, this is also sliding, and so is this playback head. Although we won't need this one anymore. If we can seek here, we don't need this one up here. It would be nice to keep the playtime. So this also needs to be updated with the time of the video. I think what I'll do is just create a state variable, or just use the state variable so that the video updates it as it's playing, and then these will be listening to that time. And then anytime I apply a change here, then that handler function that listens for the change that I'm applying here, these interactions, will update the time of the video, which in turn will update the time of this one, because this one's going to be listening to the time updates in the state. But for now, we do got a working application. So it implemented several improvements to fix the abort error issue in the wavesurfer implementation. So it switched to a media-based approach so that instead of loading the audio directly, wavesurfer is now going to reference the existing video element as the media source. And so now we won't have a duplicate loading process that was causing the abort error. Interesting. So I added some initialization timing. So now it's checking that the video's metadata has been loaded before we initialize wavesurfer using a 300 millisecond delay. It added some error handling for wavesurfer. It cleans up the event listeners for the wavesurfer instances. It created a dedicated initialization function, and it's making sure that it's only being called at the appropriate times. So this should fix the abort error issue by ensuring that wavesurfer only initializes after the video is properly loaded. And then also because it's referencing the video element directly instead of trying to load the audio separately. And so it's saying that the waveform should now display correctly and stay synchronized with the video playback without generating any errors in the console. So let me open up the console. It's saying wavesurfer is ready. If I click play, okay, it looks good. If I go towards the end, let's see, does it move? Play? Interesting, what just happened? Okay, these are bugs I'll have to fix, but I'll do them in the next video. The good news is that we got this audio waveform on here. So I'm just going to review the changes that Cursor recently made. If I open up the edit page, I can see, okay, so in this effect hook, it looks like everything was just moved into this callback function. That's all that happened between these two. Here's the error handling that it talked about. When there's an error, all it's doing is console logging, so it's not really doing anything. But this is only for when we're creating. No, this is for any error with wavesurfer. Okay, let's see. So here's just adding a check to make sure that the video file and the video element are available. And because they are available, then it can load the metadata. Okay, and then this is just as that we had seen before. It's just removing that event listener. So this callback function up here is only being run once the metadata has loaded, which is given a 300 millisecond delay, and that's the end of the hook. So that's the only thing that's changed. Basically, we put everything inside of this function, and it calls the function after a short delay of loading the metadata. And that's all it did. Okay, let's add those changes, and then let's ask it to please summarize your changes into one git commit message. Okay, submit. Here are the changes. Let's just review them to make sure there's nothing that we deleted that it no longer is facing. So this error handling that it says that it added for wavesurfer loading processes to prevent abort error, we can just delete because it was discovered and fixed within this commit. It says it ensured synchronization between video playback and waveform to an extent. We'll just leave it. It improved initialization timing by waiting for the video metadata to load. And then it cleaned up event listeners for wavesurfer instances on component onMount. So really the main one is this one here, implemented wavesurfer. Synchronization between video playback and waveform, yeah, that's one to keep. Improved initialization timing, sure, I'll just leave it. I'll just leave everything. Everything else looks good. So that is my commit message. I'm gonna copy it and then paste it over here and commit. Really, I should just from now on have the agents run this. Well, that's all for today. This is the application that we've built. We added this audio waveform component. As you can see, this is tracking the video as it's playing. In the next video, we're gonna clean up the syncing because it's not perfectly synced. You can see this slider isn't moving as the video is playing, neither is this time being updated. So we're gonna fix those issues. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to see more.